figurative speech, and I have chosen the subject of how I got into becoming a preacher. This story, like any other story, has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And so I will go into this just as soon as I introduce my audience. Okay. To begin with, I lived out west when I was younger, and a lot like some families, you know, I grew up in a pretty, you know, rocky childhood. Had a stepfather that was kind of not very pleasant to the family, and just like any other child, I guess, you know, I ran away from home several times and everything, but I just kept you know, trying to get out of the situation, get my mother out of the situation, and you know, something just kept pulling me and everything. So I attended a Bible camp, and I ended up you know, accepting the Lord there, and we were going to a church there in our hometown. And anyway, to become a member of that church, I more or less, you know, had to, you know, reveal that publicly to the church members. And the story goes, you know, I went to the altar, and I was going to become a member and just, you know, more or less reaffirm, do everything all over like I did in Bible camp. And I was just there kneeling, praying, and pleading for, you know, praying for my situation, my mother's situation, and my siblings. And I ended up, out of the blue, I heard this voice behind me that said, "Are you ready to go to the Lord?" Well, it startled me, and you might as well say it frightened me. And I turned around, and for about the first 15 seconds, I chose my words very, very carefully, because there stood a man. I later found out he was a deacon for the church. But this man was probably 6'4", 6'5". He was probably a good 260 to 280 something pounds, and just a big man. And he was wanting to know if I was ready to go to the Lord. And I kind of did not know what he was talking about, looking at the size of this man. And I don't know what it was, but back in that time and age, you know, I mean, there was when the men wore their suits back in that time, the tie just came about mid-waist, and I never really understood that. I don't know if it was just their style, or if it was just the way they just didn't make enough material, whatever they did. I just didn't know. But anyway, he's a big man, and he went on to say, you know, what he was trying to get me to do, and he led me to the Lord. Well, later on, we finally did get out of the situation, moved back here to Tennessee, and of course, I had just a, you know, up and down childhood, just like I guess everybody else, just without a father. Learned a lot of stuff by myself, and some good, some bad. But I ended up later on, you know, joining another church later on in my life, in my older years, and helped several preachers here in my hometown here in Dyersburg, and became assistant to one of the preachers, and learned a lot. And but I'm still learning a lot, becoming a preacher now. I'm under right now my senior preacher. He's leading me, taking me by the hand. I think a lot of him, and he's guided me a lot along the way. But it's like becoming a preacher is just like becoming a Christian. You've got to start out, you know, new, and you've got to learn. You've got to crawl before you can walk, and you've got to learn how to walk before you can run. But preachers have a lot on them. You know, we all go through times in each one of our lives where we have sorrows, death, good times, bad times, and a preacher is there to try to comfort any individual that will come to them. And so that's the role of a preacher, and that's the reason why I became a preacher, because I love people, I love helping people, and I want to help anybody that I can with whatever situation they're going through. So that's the reason why I became a preacher. That is the conclusion of my narrative. So I will show my audience one more time. Okay, I thank y'all for your attention and just your time. Thank you.